Then we can modify this to then also work our core stuff and our core work into it, right? Because if I place, go ahead and put one arm up, right? So if Ahmad's got one dumbbell, now all of a sudden he's got this force that's trying to pull him this way. So what does this core have to do? It's got to resist what? Rotation, right? Because now all of a sudden his body wants to come this way. So Ahmad's going to have to lock this in right here, and he's just going to go through that same motion, okay? So he's going to go ahead and pull that bench press, all right? And then push up. Especially as you get into more challenging, situations, what's going to happen is you have to lock that core. So like obviously 10 pounds is not much for Ahmad. But if I were to give him like a 60 and all of a sudden ask him to do 5 reps, he's going to find, you weigh what, 170 pounds? 175 pounds, right? So I'm asking him to put a third of his body weight if I do 160, or a 60-pound dumbbell, okay? So if all of a sudden he goes to do that press, now we start to integrate some of our core function into that, all right? So then what does that do, right? Because our core locks to our rib cage. Your rib cage obviously is connected to your sternum. Where's your pec major attached? Your sternum, right? So now all of a sudden I'm creating this anchor point, and so now, especially then if we were to do, say, a one-arm pec fly, right? And for those of you that, some of you are like, okay, like I can only get down a certain amount, show them the power fly that we talked about with the bent elbow. With a bent, yeah, right? So see how Ahmad likes to like rotate here? There, right? Okay? So now if he does, this is what we call power fly. So if anybody was finding like elbow or shoulder issues with a straight arm, this is your variation because the bicep shortens up a little bit and it stabilizes your shoulder here. But all of a sudden now he's really stretched out that pec major, which is attached to his sternum. So now he's got to lock in his core more. Good. Push up. Good. Okay? So that's just a different way that we can do that. Now, okay, just relax a second. Now we're going to go back to those same movements, but I wanted you to integrate one thing we talked about on Tuesday. Who wasn't here on Tuesday? There's a couple of you. Everybody was in that? Great, everybody's here. All right, so when we talk about the basically mind-muscle connection, all right, because when we talk about like training, we want our body to be aware of what's going on. So when we did that breathing, right, what do? We breathed into our abdomen and then expanded our chest. So we're just trying to associate that breathing pattern. So now if Ahmad really wants to get the most out of this, he can go into, and we're going to go back to that double arm, so I'm going to give you this one. Okay? So Ahmad's going to go ahead and push those dumbbells up, and he's going to expand and breathe into his chest and try to make his ribs as big as possible. And then he's going to lower those dumbbells. Anybody see what happened to his chest? All of a sudden they like expanded more. Right? That's beautiful. Push up. Anybody notice what he's doing on the way out? So when we start to look at that, he breathes in. Okay, breathe in, do a rep. And then he goes to push out. You feel your pecs start to do more stuff there? A little bit. Because all of a sudden he's expanding, he's stretching out, and then he's breathing out, he's pulling it all back in. The other thing that he can think of is I want you to lower down, okay? Lower down to that bench press, and he's just gonna actively think about those muscles that are in his chest, and he's gonna almost sit there and try to think chest and pull the chest forward to push up. So think about it, like really concentrate on it, push. Anybody start to see, it's like you can watch his pecs like pull in as he pushes up. Do another one, same thing, focus on it. Push. Okay, good. All right, so when we look at like strength training, and we look at all these different movements, then we can start to incorporate all the different things. All right, that's how we get the most, that's how we build the most strength, right? Beginning strength training, beginning weight training. It's how we keep everything safe, because when he breathes in, expands that rib cage, he's locking it in. He's creating a really safe anchor point. Like, does anybody do any boating? Right, like go to the lake, you tie your boat up to the dock, right? Well, if you don't want to tie your boat to like the little anchor that's got like one screw missing and it's like really janky, okay? Then you lose your boat at some point because the waves hit or the wake hits and it pulls your boat out, okay? Same thing with your muscles. You don't want a weak anchor point. The more solid your anchor point, the more you're going to get out of each thing. So we're going to go back to what we were doing. Same movements. I want you to try 5 reps on each arm. And then I want you to just try to think about what's working, okay? Because here in a second, we're going to go over to our cable stuff, and we're gonna do